first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft.
Good evening and welcome back to another edition of the Blitz and Kick podcast, where we talk all things football all the time. I'm your host, Brad.
And I'm Kyle.
And tonight, guys, we are hosting the NFL Draft again. This is our mock draft 2.0. If you guys have not been with us before, we like to do things a little bit different, just like every burger place that's run by a millennial. Anyhow, Kyle, I'm excited. We've got a whole lot of good stuff here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our mock draft to the stage. Kyle, how are we going to go ahead and start this draft?
Well, before we actually start this draft, I think this predictive mock is kind of like what we think could happen, not necessarily what we want to happen or should happen. Because in reality, we would do a lot of different things in these teams. But I think going through this exercise, this is what we think could happen. So just right off the bat, we're just going to say that. So let's kick it off with the Tennessee Titans. They're on the clock. And I don't think this is going to be a very hard pick from everything that we've seen on social media, from the Schefters of the world, from Titans insiders. I would say the pick for the Titans is in.
All right, they're taking it up to the podium now.
And the Tennessee Titans, with their first pick, are taking Cam Ward, quarterback, out of Miami. Again, I don't think we have to talk about this that much. It's kind of set in stone that they're going to pick Cam Ward. And I think they should. Even though this is a predictive mock, I still think they should. Will Levis is on their roster. Please, Lord, no, get him off. And you and I have talked about their offensive line and defensive line being not bad. I mean, Skoronski, Zeitler, Dan Moore Jr., J.C. Latham. In defense, we know what Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat can bring. So I don't think this is a really out of the realm kind of possibility. I think this is going to happen on draft night.
I agree. The biggest problem is this is the thing they're missing. This is the thing they've not gotten right since 2006. I was looking at a couple stats since then. And almost every quarterback metric from 2006 until now, which 2006 was the year that Steve McNair was injured, they've ranked 29th, 28th, and 31st in quarterback metrics. They need to get it right. They have to just try. Even if Cam Ward doesn't turn out, it doesn't matter. Somebody's got to throw the ball. And not Will Levis, who finds amazing ways to give the ball to everyone but his teammates.
Yes. He finds incredible ways to look horrible, not incredible ways to look good and play well. And Cam Ward, I think the ceiling could be high, but I think at the very least, if he can't throw in rhythm, he can still do some things with his legs, right? There's that option. And I still think the Titans are going to be a very run-heavy team. And I think that will get him kind of slowly into things rather than right off the bat, he has to play hero ball. So I think this is a good situation for him. He could be in many, many worse situations, especially with some teams coming up that we're going to talk about. So I would say let's put the Browns on the clock here at number 2.
You got it.
And we've seen reports out there that they wanted a quarterback, right? So everybody thought, okay, Shedeur at 2. And then it was, definitely they're taking Abdul Carter. And now it's, they're definitely taking Travis Hunter. I think the Browns are throwing smokescreen everywhere. It seems like different analysts, different famous analysts or Twitter people or social media experts, whatever, they're throwing out every name possible. But this is Andrew Berry, who comes from the Philadelphia Eagles. What do the Philadelphia Eagles like to do? They like to build the line of scrimmage. That's what they like to do. So I think this is the Browns' This is the Eagles' way of doing it for the Browns, and I think the pick is in for the Cleveland Browns.
All right.
And the Browns are going to select Abdul Carter, defensive end out of Penn State. Like I said, smokescreen everywhere. I don't love the makeup of this team. Myles Garrett came back for $40 million, but that's because they gave him $40 million. I don't think it's like, oh yeah, we definitely have a plan, Myles Garrett. We're going to get you a quarterback. I mean, they could get Shedeur maybe later in the first round, right? Like maybe trading back into the first round.
Sure.
I guess the possibility they could trade back at 2, back to like 10 or something and get Shedeur, but I don't think you can miss an unmissable prospect. Like there's so very few blue chip guys in this draft. If one is sitting there, I don't care if it's a defensive end, you already have one. I don't care if it's at corner, you already have 3 of them. I don't care if it's at receiver, you have 3 of them. Like you have to hit. And I think Abdul Carter across from Myles Garrett is a nasty duo. And I think, winning at the line of scrimmage is a good way just to make your team competitive again.
And truthfully, you don't see prospects that look similar to someone else that's a superstar. Very, very close. I think if teams had a chance to go back and draft Micah Parsons would not have fallen all the way to the Cowboys. So I agree with you. Building both sides of the ball, we've talked about it, is a critical way to win the game of football. Abdul Carter is a game changer. Makes sense. Myles Garrett, Abdul Carter. Who cares who's throwing the ball if the defense can just put the offense back on the field more often?
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to the New York Football Giants here at 3. They are on the clock. Giants, another kind of travesty of a team. I think we all thought, there's a chance for a quarterback, a Shedeur, a Cam Ward. It's in my belief that it seems like they're out on a quarterback. Why? Because they both signed Winston and Russell Wilson. Their offensive line is still a little bit of a mess. Their secondary is getting better, but you could use some upgrades there. If Abdul Carter was here, you could make an argument that they could trade Kayvon Thibodeau and select Abdul Carter. But as of right now, I don't see a receiver worth taking at 3. I don't think it's any kind of tight end here. No really offensive lineman that maybe fits what they're doing. So I'm going to say the pick is in for the New York Giants. And they are taking the do-it-all corner receiver out of Colorado, Travis Hunter. Like I said, I don't think there is many blue-chip prospects in this draft. I think it's Abdul Carter. I think it's Travis Hunter. I think those are the 2. So if you're the Giants, again, you just need to hit. You need to get playmakers on the field, on defense, and on offense. I think Travis Hunter, if he's there and they select him, can do a lot for you, running the ball, catching the ball, maybe a nickel corner, maybe outside corner, maybe on special teams, just a way to maybe fill seats, but then also, really try to hone in on what are his best attributes, what are his best skills. A lot of teams see him as receiver, but a lot of teams see him just as corner. So it'll be interesting to see if the Giants do select him, where they're going to put him on their team.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and clarify what kind of position he should be in the NFL. A corn-receiver.
Receiver.
Yeah.
A reback.
A reback, my favorite, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's do it all, right? Heisman winner, 6 foot, 190, great character guy, great playmaker. Giants just need to get playmakers in the building because they're kind of void of that other than Malik Neighbors. Like, there's no one on their tight end room that's scary. Tyrone Tracy was pretty good last year, but I wouldn't call him an elite player. Quarterback, nothing. Offensive line needs work. I just think you need to hit on a blue chip guy. In our board, he's the blue chip guy left. You take him, no doubt about it.
Makes sense.
All right, let's go to number 4. The New England Patriots are on the clock. Another team that can go a myriad of different ways, right? We know they like their quarterback. They have their quarterback there. They don't really have a running back to speak of. They don't really have a receiver to speak of other than Stephon Diggs. And I got a couple comments about that on X about Stephon Diggs. I think it's in our belief that, he's might not turn out. It might not be worth that contract, right? But at least they got him in. But I would say receivers not fully set in stone. Offensive line, yikes. So I think I don't think there's any other way they should go except for offensive line. So I'm going to say that this pick is in. And the New England Patriots are selecting tackle/guard Will Campbell out of LSU. They could stick Will Campbell at left tackle. Let him see how he adjusts if he can. I know there's a lot of talk about his short arms. Can he make it at tackle? Well, I would say he's better than Vidarian Lowe or Caden Wallace or Cole Strange pretty much anywhere. I would just get talent on the field. However, if he cannot make it at left tackle or right tackle, I think he could be a Pro Bowl guard, from day one. I really do. And they need to hit on offensive linemen. I think he is one of the best linemen in this draft. I think he has been for the last year. I think he's kind of suffering from prospect fatigue. We've been talking about him for a year, and now it's can he play tackle? Can he play guard? Guards really aren't that valued. Well, he's a good football player. He's athletic. He's strong. He's played a lot of games, and he's still young. And those are all really good traits to have, especially for a building team like the Patriots. They just really need to get their offensive line right. They need to protect Drake May. We say that over and over again. If you have a quarterback, you need to protect him. Otherwise, he will die. He will. So Will Campbell, no doubt about it. I like this pick at number 4.
Same.
All right. Your Dallas – or wait, who's on the clock right now? Oh, that's right. We have a big trade at number 5. The Cowboys are coming up to number 5. They're trading with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Cowboys are on the clock. You know what? Obviously, if they have the trade in mind and they made the trade, they have someone they want to pick right away, and no doubt about it, pick. I'm going to say the pick is in for the Dallas Cowboys here at number 5. And your Cowboys are selecting Ashton Jeanty, running back out of Boise State. I think this could legitimately happen. The Cowboys at times go with what's right, what's needed, like the Tyler Smith of the world, the Tyler Guytons of the world, the Travis Fredericks of the world, the Micah Parsons, right? Sometimes they like the flash. They like the no doubt about it, speed, athleticism, juice, Heisman, playmaker. They love to have that on their team. Ashton Jeanty is that guy. You can make an argument that a Jeanty, a Tetroa McMillan, a Tyler Warren, playmakers that they need on their team might not be there at their pick, or guys they don't even like. So I think if they can go up, get Ashton Jeanty behind a rebuilding offensive line, we said it before, Dak Prescott is at his best when he has a running game. And right now the running back is Javonte Williams. I don't believe in Javonte Williams. Nobody does. That's why
I don't think Javonte Williams believes in Javonte Williams.
I don't think so either. He only got 2 or 3 million, right? I think Ashton Jeanty, when we talk about running backs at the top of the draft, we always say, is it worth it? I think the Cowboys are in a position where it is worth it, right? Yes, they choke in the playoffs, obviously, and it's hilarious. However, usually they get pretty close. So I would rather a Cowboys team take a Jeanty than a team like the Patriots or the Raiders who really aren't that ready to go yet. So I think this is a legitimate possibility. The Cowboys love flash. They love substance too. He's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I love it. It makes sense, especially a dude that's a little bit Derrick Henry-esque in terms of that bounce off of everybody kind of playmaking. Yeah, you want that.
And two, I think with the trades that you're gonna see, hint, hint. I think it really makes sense for the Cowboys to jump ahead of the Raiders, right? Because the Raiders are the landing spot for Jeanty in so many mock drafts. Correct. And I think it makes sense too for the Jaguars to drop back because they have a new GM. They have a new coach. They want picks. They want their own guys in there. Let's accrue some more picks. Let's get our own guys. There's no really stud at the top. We don't really need a Genty, right? We don't really need a Matthew Golden. Let's sit back, see how the board falls, and get our kind of guys. So with that being said, let's put the Raiders on the clock at 6.
You got it.
Now, Brad, this was your pick here. I guess collectively ours.
Here's where we get the hate.
But your baby. No, I'm gonna let you announce it. I'm gonna let you speak your piece, and then I'm also gonna jump in because I have pretty good legitimate reasoning too. So let's say the Raiders pick is in.
Let's do it.
And the Raiders are selecting Matthew Golden, receiver out of Texas. I love it, Brad. Why? What do you think?
Listen, I know the argument is going to be there that, look, Ted McMillan could be Mike Evans. Ted McMillan could be Keenan Allen. Ted McMillan could be this next big guy. Sure, you're right. But you know what? I think Jacoby Myers plays that role totally fine. I think if you still want that big body receiver, you can use Brock Bowers in different ways like that. That's not what they need. They need somebody to go over the top. I don't know who you're going to have thrown over the top like that to who back there. Really, literally, like name me somebody unless you don't play fantasy, who the ball is going to go to. And Matthew Golden just proved to us in the combine that he deserves to be up there. I will say this as well. Reports are coming in that the NFL is way higher on Matthew Golden than the media is. And, I just can't help but think if they miss out on Genty, the next thing they're going to look for is somebody to throw the ball too deep. And Brock Bowers isn't that fast. Jacoby Myers is okay. Matthew Golden makes sense. It really does. You can put Jacoby out on the outside, play Golden in at the slot, and then run Brock Bowers. But my whole point when I was thinking about this pick is there's no quarterback here, right? Unless they leave themselves on auto draft and take another tight end here, then this is the only thing that makes sense. I just can't see them taking anything other than receiver. And if I were looking at it and I said, okay, who is going to be the best fit for me for the next couple of years? And I put Ted McMillan up against Matthew Golden. I'm going to take Matthew Golden. I really am. Like, Ted would be nice, but they need some speed in that offense.
Yeah, here's my thing. I have like 4 things I'm thinking of with this pick. So first of all this is the Raiders, right? I know Al Davis isn't there, but remember when they drafted Darius Hayward-Bay? 4.2 something speed. Like, this is the Raiders' MO. Number 2, this is Pete Carroll's MO. How many times has he picked a dumb pick? Hundreds, but like tens of times. He's picked 2 second-round running backs in the last 3 years he was at Seattle. Like, this is what he does. He doesn't care about positional value. He cares about speed. He cares about what's best for his team. And right now, he's come off the record and said, like, I want to compete right away. Okay, well, to compete right away, assuming Genty's off the board in our mock, you need a receiver, right? So, like, in that sense, I am 100% on board because not only would it be a Raiders and Pete Carroll thing to do, but also, like you said, reports are coming out that, like, he's viewed as the number 1 receiver in this draft, okay? Mm-hmm. And very similar to quarterbacks, some teams are desperate for receivers and make big leaps and get one. It surprises us every single year.
All I could think of with this pick was Jalen Reagor and the Eagles. And I know that's going to hurt your feelings, but it's the only thing I could think of. That
we won 2 Super Bowls. I'm fine.
Okay. All right.
He's
but
dead.
It's the same thought process. A speedy guy. John Ross is another example of that. People that are like, oh, he's really fast. Let's take him.
Yes.
And not saying he's going to be super successful, but
yeah. And 3 receivers were drafted in that John Ross draft. I believe it was Corey Davis. Yep. It was John Ross and Mike Williams. Yep. Mike Williams, a good career, but collectively, all 3 of them were like, yikes. And why? Because they were overdrafted, because of their athleticism, So, like, Golden puts that 40 on lock, and teams will jump. Teams love speed. Good. Let's go to the Jets are on the clock here. At 7, the Jets with Justin Fields. I'm going to put it out there. I called it a month back. However, reports are maybe they would trade Breece Hall if they got Genty. I don't know if I really believe that. Breece Hall has been very injured, but in our mock, Genty's off the board. Right tackle is open. I like what they've done on the other side of that. Receiver could make a lot of sense. Poor Garrett Wilson's there by himself. And then, you and I have talked about your boy, Quinnen Williams, needs some help next to him. So lots of options here, but I think we're both in agreement what happens here at number 7. Let's say the pick is in. And the New York Jets are taking tight end Tyler Warren out of Penn State. People can make a lot of arguments about they need a right tackle. Guess what? They need a receiver too. Okay, do you agree with both of them? Okay, and Tyler Warren's a perfect pick because he can catch at tight end and he can also block at tight end. He can help on the right side. He can chip. He can block edge rushers. He can be advantageous pulling tight end in the running game. He can do so much for you. He can give somewhat of an identity on that offense because right now they don't have one. Justin Fields is a new quarterback, and that's kind of exciting, but you need an identity. I don't think it's going to be a, throw balls down the field. I forget what playbook that is in college football or in Madden, but the one where it's just 4 or 5 verts every time. That's not what it's going to be, right?
That's my kind of playbook.
Yeah, that's Brad's playbook. Roll to the right and shot deep.
Shove it. Yep.
That's not the Jets' offense. It's not going to be that. But it can be good. But you need a solid running game. You need good blocking. And I think
roll to the right. I'm offended. That's too accurate.
Yeah. The left side of their line is, I said it's getting there with Fashanu, Vera Tucker, Titman, I believe as well. So tight end is a need, and it has been. We've said this the last 4 or 5 years. The Jets could really use a tight end. The Jets could really use a tight end. Well, here is the perfect pick, I think.
Not even that. What we've said on this podcast a lot, if you're new and you're just joining us, we've said for years the way to support a younger quarterback is give him a tight end over the middle of the field, give him a tight end to dump it off to. Tyler Warren checks that box and so much more. This would be addressing that in addition to 12 other things for the Jets. So this a home run pick. I love this when you put it forward.
All right. Pick number 8 is up. Oh, but here's the thing. We have a trade. The Panthers are trading pick 8 to the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are now on the clock. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. Man, we said the 49ers, they're just kind of a travesty of a team right now. We used to say the 49ers don't have any kind of holes. They got everything they need. Now it's quite the opposite. Holes are everywhere. And they haven't paid Brock Purdy yet. That's concerning. So for the 49ers, I'm going to say the pick is in for the 49ers. And the 49ers are going to select Armand Membu, tackle out of Missouri. Like I said, the 49ers they're a big mess, right? Tackle is a massive need. If you think about Trent Williams at left tackle, he's kind of aging there, right? At running back, Christian McCaffrey, he's also aging. George Kittle at tight end, he's also aging. And again, they haven't paid Brock Purdy. They're a team that really needs to rely on their offensive line, and they love building on the line of scrimmage on defense. Well, they don't really have anything on defense. Maybe you can make a case for Mason Graham at this pick. I don't know if he exactly fits what Saleh wants to do with all the stunts and the slides that he likes with his D linemen. However, if you can get a young, athletic tackle / guard, specifically Armand Membu here out of Missouri, if you can get him at tackle or move him to guard, or maybe he can fill in for Trent Williams, I think that's a home run of a pick. And I think the 49ers trading up here, it makes a lot of sense because they're trading ahead of the Saints. They could use a tackle. They're trading ahead of the Bears. They could use a right tackle. So I think in that way, it also makes a lot of sense. And then for the Panthers, they lost a number of picks in that Bryce Young trade. So trading back a little bit, I think makes sense too, and picking up some picks.
Especially if you're not in a position to compete right away as the Panthers, it just makes sense to just stockpile and pick as much talent as possible.
All right. The New Orleans Saints are now on the clock at number 9. And the Saints, we got Kellen Moore, coming over from the Super Bowl champs. His offense, a little bit of a mess there, you could say. Defensively, also kind of the same thing. They brought Cameron Jordan back, but he's like 40, right? Brian Brisset's there. They paid $30 million for Justin Reed, who's 30 years old. Tyrann Mathieu, 40. Chase Young's kind of a bust. I don't really know what they're doing. Chris Olave has concussions, and that's really serious. And who knows how he's going to be? But I guess don't worry about it. They signed Brandon Cooks. They still have Taysom Hill, the god. So they're a mess for sure. And I think when you're a mess like this, when you have a new head coach, you need to hit, right? You need to get the best guy on the board, no matter what position it is. So I'm going to say the pick is in for the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints are selecting Mason Graham, D-tackle out of Michigan. Like I said, their defensive line's kind of a mess. Kalen Saunders, Nathan Shepard, Carl Grandison at defensive end, Cameron Jordan at defensive end. They don't have much there. Mason Graham was being talked about as a top 5 pick. I think he's sliding back a little bit just because we're not really sure about his upside and his pass rush game. He doesn't get moved. He doesn't get knocked over. But his pass rush refinement really isn't there. However, like I said, the Saints just need to hit. They need to hit on a D tackle. They need to hit at the line of scrimmage. Mason Graham's the best player on the board. I think if Tyler Warren was here or Membu, I think both of those are realistic options. I just see them grabbing a receiver like a Allen, reaching for a quarterback on the board makes a lot of sense.
I'm with you.
All right, let's go to the Chicago Bears on the clock. The Bears, they've done a lot of work, right? So much work in the offseason with Brady Jarrett, Gervin Dexter, Deo Odeyingbo, getting Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson. They still have Darnell Wright at right tackle. Who knows about Braxton Jones? They got Dennis Allen here at defensive coordinator, and he has a very specific set of skills that he loves on the defense. So I'm going to say the pick is in for the Chicago Bears. The Bears electing short edge out of Texas and the freaky freak of all freaks at defensive end. Like I said, Dennis Allen, he loves these kind of guys. He loves long, lanky, physical beings at defensive end. We just Saints, he was there forever. Who did he love? Cameron Jordan, Marcus Davenport, I believe. Guys like that, big, physical, nasty guys, athletic testing. Production hasn't been there. But I think you can sell me on if I have Montez Sweat on one side and I have Shamar Stewart on the other, I can sprinkle in Austin Booker, Deo Odeyingbo as well. All of a sudden, your defensive line and your defense in total is just looking a lot better. So I think this makes a lot of sense here at number 10.
I think the thing that sucks for the Chicago Bears is they play in a halfway decent division. Yeah. It's almost like the Raiders in their division. That's kind of what the equivalent is for me with Chicago. Although I would say Chicago is just slightly more talented overall than the Raiders and seem to have some sense of direction, but just opinion.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely in a tough division. I think Ben Johnson's a good way to start getting there. Offensive line and defensive line of scrimmage, like both of those are needs, and that's how you build. So I think a Shamar Stewart or a Mike Green, maybe. We'll talk about that eventually, but we went with Shamar Stewart. Panthers are up here at 11 after that trade. So the Panthers are on the clock here at 11. No Shamar Stewart for them. He got picked. I think they're probably a little pissed about that. No Mason Graham as well. I don't think they have a need at offensive line. But here at 11, there's a couple different ways they could go. So I'm going to say the pick is in for the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers are selecting Tet McMillan, receiver, here at pick 11. McMillan, I do like. I think the issue is, I'm not sure if you've seen it, I'm sure you have, is that I don't know if it was this year or like 3 years ago, he said, I don't watch tape, right? I don't watch tape. I don't watch broadcasts of game, not really into watching my own thing. If coaches can do it, that's fine. Paraphrasing, of course, but I would say those questions are going to be asked to him about him. You're probably going to hear that on draft night. The speed really isn't there like a Matthew Golden. That's probably why Golden's shooting up. McMillan is kind of slowing down here. But I think if the Panthers, you could argue maybe he's a little similar to Leggett, but I think McMillan is that do-it-all kind of guy. Baker Mayfield loves throwing it to Mike Evans, right? Like Baker Mayfield's back there. He's small. He's running around. Sometimes he needs to trust his big-bodied receiver. Brett can do the same. You need a big-bodied receiver on the outside, a number one. I don't think Leggett's number one. I don't think Jalen Coker's number one. I don't think Thielen's a number one. You can make the case that McMillan's a number one.
I like that, actually. I really do. They need some more star power.
Yeah.
And we've had this for what year is it now? Anyways, yeah, that's my whole point. Ever since Christian McCaffrey, that was kind of like their only real threat. But
and they haven't done anything, like that in a while. Even their running back room, I don't think is that scary. Tight ends, not that scary. Like they need on that offense. Jaguars here number 12 after their trading back from 5 all the way to 12. Jaguars here on the clock. We know about their new GM, their new head coach, Liam Cohen, Duval. We know all of that.
Duval.
Yeah, you do it better. You do it better than I do.
Because I watched it 100 times and said, "What is wrong?"
Right, I did the same thing. Receiver Brian Thomas Jr. electric. They got Diami Brown in free agency. Still have Gabe Davis, Parker Washington. But if Golden and McMillan are both off the board, I don't think receiver right now is the way to go. So that kind of leaves me at offensive line or secondary. So I'm going to say the pick is in for your Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are selecting corner/safety Jahdae Barron out of Texas. They do it all. Secondary man, played so much. A leader. He's physical. He's tough. Great ball skills. Sure, he might be a little undersized for an outside corner, but I think a team like the Jaguars, who right now, listen, these are the secondary guys. Just stay with me. Tyson Campbell, who we like, but then they have Eric Murray, Darnell Savage, Jerrion Jones, and Jordan Lewis. I mean, that's just not an inspiring secondary. They've put so much stock into their defensive line. And we've talked about that. Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines Allen, Eric Armstead. Linebacker, Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma. Secondary is something they have not addressed. I think they lost Andre Cisco. I almost said Francisco from Elf. They lost Andre Cisco in free agency. So, like, safety is a need. An outside corner is almost definitely a need as well. And he could fill 2 of these boxes. What do you think of Barron here at number 12?
I love it, actually. I don't know if everyone will feel the same way. This is another guy that one of my multiple accounts that follows scouting stuff, media insight. The two Texas boys, Jahdae Barron, Matthew Golden, are rising more than the media thinks. So this makes sense to me. It definitely makes sense because I think last year in our mock, we had the Jaguars taking a corner in the first round, and they didn't. They don't usually listen to us, do they? So I think they're finally reaching that oh crap point, like you mentioned, of like we have nothing at that position. And listen, football is a pass heavy sport now. You have to either address it or just decide that you're going to win maybe 4 or 5 games a year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and like we said, they address defensive line so much.
All
Well,
the time.
that's not really working, like if it was that good, like you wouldn't have this issue, right?
Yeah.
So like it seems like secondary is definitely a need, especially if your defensive line can't get there as fast as you think. Means Dolphins are here on the clock at number 13. Your Miami Dolphins with Tua and their myriad of holes as well. I mean, I really like what they did last year with Chop Robinson. We are Penn State, I'll shout out that really quick. But the Dolphins in desperate need of more offensive linemen, I think. I think that's very obvious. They have a Patrick Paul. Hey, we like a Patrick Paul. We talked about him last year, and they signed James Daniels. He could be something maybe for them at guard. Secondary is also pretty much always a need for them too. But in this mock, Jahdae Barron just went before them, and that sucks because I think they would love to have Jahdae Barron. So with that in mind, with that being said, I think the pick is in for your Miami Dolphins at 13. And Dolphins are selecting tackle/guard Kelvin Banks Jr. Out of Texas. And like I said, offensive line is a massive need. Mr. Armstead just retired. I don't think they have a suitable replacement. And interior as well also leaves something to be desired. They love athletic guys. Banks is that. At tackle or guard, his athleticism is definitely good enough to warrant, a spot on that line. He's played a lot as well. He's played 3 years. A lot of people liken him to a Peter Skoronski, who we saw last year go from tackle to guard. Great quickness as well. I think, they just need linemen, right? Much like the 49ers, and in a similar sense, their offense is kind of similar. I get that you can sometimes go without offensive linemen and produce, but like at some point it catches up to you, right? I mean, you need to take an offensive lineman at some point, right?
Yeah. Especially when you've got Tua that's probably like one hit away from being done, period.
Yeah.
Unless you're ready to just do a rebuild, and I don't think the Dolphins feel like they're at a point to do a rebuild yet.
Right. Yeah, it's concerning for sure. I mean, the quarterback who's one hit away from being done, and you have not really addressed your offensive line that much. It's just, are you trying to get him killed? I don't understand. But I think if a Banks was on the board like this, I think this is where they would go because they need to protect Tua.
Well, it's always safe to put your money in the banks. So,
got him. Love it. Colts are up at your Colts.
The Indianapolis Clots.
Your Colts. Your Indiana team.
Yeah.
Talk about the Colts a little bit from your perspective. You were close with them. Obviously, now you've moved away into a long distance with the Colts and the Ravens. How do you feel about the Colts?
Honestly, I'm going to say the most obvious thing here. Until they figure out quarterback, it does not matter at all what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I really thought that they would take this offseason seriously. You had some real opportunities to take maybe a Sam Darnold. Again, not like a sexy splash thing, but you need a veteran guy that can just come in and set the tone. And I don't think Joe Flacco checks that box for me. I don't think Daniel Jones checks that box for me. I just can't see them in a position where they start over Anthony Richardson and have Colts fans say, what a great idea, guys. Why haven't we done this before? Like, no, Like, this was not the way to get the best out of Anthony Richardson. And honestly, I think this is his last season to prove that he can do something. You cannot in the NFL say, "Oh, I'm tired. I don't really want to play." Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That ain't gonna fly. Outside of that, look, like, they need to address the secondary. They really need a real tight end. Michael Pittman is great. They've got I can see him as North Carolina guy with the frizzy looking hair.
Josh Downs. Yep.
They've got Josh Downs. They've got Jonathan Taylor. It's not a matter of star power. It's a matter of having somebody control that offense. And honestly, you're bringing in 57-year-old Joe Flacco ain't going to do it. You're bringing in half-brain dead Daniel Jones ain't going to do it either. The fact that the franchise was like, "Hey, we paid you a lot of money. By the way, can you leave?" Like, why would the Colts think that's such a good idea? So anyway, so that's where you stand. I'm just going to go ahead and say that the pick is in.
Yep.
And even though we're lagging, the Colts will select Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. It feels a little bit like a consolation prize. However, I will say Colston Loveland, if Tyler Warren was not in this draft, Colston Loveland would go way, way higher than this. But it's true. And when we've said this about young quarterbacks, we said it already once this podcast. I'm going to say it again. Tight ends are young quarterbacks' best friends. That's kind of everything I have to say about this pick. And he's a good vertical threat.
Yeah. You're talking about Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson. Well, either way, if you have a tight end like this, you have those receivers, you have a running back, your offensive line is, even though you lost Ryan Kelly and Will Fries, it's still good with Tanner Bortolini in there. And you could argue they could take a guard maybe in day two. Remember Bortolini?
Combine anyways. Go ahead.
Yeah, love the Tanner Bortolini. You can make the argument that Daniel Jones has a lot more in this offense than he ever did at New York. So maybe we could see a different version of Daniel Jones, assuming he could beat out Anthony Richardson. But I doubt he's going to. The Colts are definitely going to give AR-15 another chance. But, Colston Loveland. That makes – that's pretty good. I mean, in terms of nicknames. And
all right, so the Falcons are on the clock.
Moving on from that one. Falcons. Our buddy Jay, one of our guys in the show, big Falcons fan. Gotta love it. I think they've only scouted defensive players, or at least what they've said. So that's a little strange, considering they probably do have a hole at maybe offensive line, at center, maybe even at receiver. But scouted all of defense. And what have they been searching for the last, 5 years? Maybe the last one they had was John Abraham, a pass rusher. So I'm going to say the pick is in. And the Atlanta Falcons are selecting Jalen Walker out of Georgia, the linebacker / edge, about 6'2", 6'1", 245. Played a bunch of different places, right? I think that's what's enticing for a team like the Falcons. You don't really know exactly where you're going to put him. There's some differing opinions on him, right? I think that's why he goes at 15 instead of a top 10. But the production was not really there athletically. I think he is probably a freak. Most of those Georgia guys are. But I think the word tweener would make a lot of sense, in between linebacker, in between defensive end. But I think a team like the Falcons, you need bullets out there, right? Just throwing bullets out there, pass rushers, getting someone that can get in the backfield. He can do that. He might not be the most refined pass rusher. He might not be the most experienced linebacker, but if you can get him on one track, one set, and say, bro, just rush the passer, get in the backfield. I think he could do that. And a team like the Falcons desperately, desperately need it.
Agreed.
Oh boy, we got a trade. Another trade. The Cardinals are trading to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, Pittsburgh's going to draft next year. I'm going to that. That's going to be awesome. But right now, they're making a big move all the way up to 16 from 21. Whoa. I mean, what a horrible offseason so far for the Steelers. You could say, oh, we got DK Metcalf. Okay, but you don't have a quarterback. That is the most concerning thing ever. Your defensive line's getting a little bit older.
Oh, sure they do. Aaron Rodgers totally plans to sign with them, Kyle.
No. I'm tired. Listen, I live in Pittsburgh now. I just got to be honest. I'm tired of it's okay, we're going to get Aaron Rodgers, or it's okay, we got Mason Rudolph. No, they're not good. You need a quarterback. And I think because of them not signing a good one, I think this trade up makes a lot of sense. I'm going to say the pick is in for your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I'll tell you another comment here in a second.
And they are selecting Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. I think they are going to meet with Shedeur, or they have recently already. So that's a big green flag for me that they're at least interested in one of these quarterbacks. I think they will need to move up. And why at 16, you say? Well, 2 spots behind them are the Seattle Seahawks. I think that's a very likely destination as well. So that they're trading ahead of the Seahawks, not trading with the Bengals in their own division. So they're going to trade 1 spot up, trade with the team outside of their division, and steal Shedeur Sanders from teams ahead of them.
And I appreciate this trade. I really do. It's a good choice for the Steelers to not take the old toxic quarterback that's just possibly going to destroy their room, and instead taking the young toxic quarterback out of Colorado that has a chance to destroy their locker room. It's just smart. They could have that toxicity for a lot longer, and I appreciate the Steelers for looking into the longevity of that. But out of all my joking aside, if there is a coach that can manage tough personalities, it's Mike Tomlin.
For sure.
And it makes sense. It really does. Antonio Brown is probably the best case of that, where we can see he mostly had it together in Pittsburgh, but as soon as he left, holy wow, he was. I think if anybody's going to get Shedeur to buy into the team, more than myself, more than my stat lines, it's going to be Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. Now they have DK Metcalf too, so that's also a good,
Yeah, can you imagine Shedeur, DK, and George Pickens on the same team? They're going to crash out. That'd be insane to watch. And they could have a decent offense if they can continue to invest in the O-line and run the ball too. But Shedeur, I think, a better situation for him than if he were to go in the top 10 to a team like the Giants, or even the Raiders. I think Pittsburgh's a good city, and I think they will surround him with some talent if this is indeed how it goes. That means the Bengals are on the clock at 17.
Yeah, let's go ahead and make this one easy. You don't need a receiver. You don't need a quarterback. You don't need a tight end. You don't really need an edge. You just went ahead and paid most of these guys. However, your defense is atrocious. You and I have said for the past, I think, 3 or 4 seasons now that the Bengals really need to address their D-line. So we'll just go ahead and make this one really easy. The pick is in for the Bengals. And listen, they're going to take Derek Harmon, the D tackle out of Oregon, because...
Oh, me. They need defensive line help. Offensive line. Man, I was on a Twitter space the other day, and people just were ragging on the Bengals and their horrible choices. So offensive and defensive line is still a massive need for them. You could maybe argue at Gray Zabel here, but I think, like you said, D tackle has been a need for a long time. I think Harmon could fit that bill. So that means Seattle's up on the clock at 18. The Seattle Seahawks, who have done a bunch of weird things that I don't understand at all. A team that I'm just not quite nailing down what their strategy is here. So that's why I'm going to go with this pick. I'm going to say the pick is in. Seahawks. The Seahawks are selecting Jackson Dart, quarterback out of Ole Miss. That's right. Oh, they have Sam Darnold. Listen, he could be cut after a year. He's only had one good year in his career, and that was last year with the best offense in football. So, not a long-term solution. I think Seattle is prone to doing things that we just don't really understand. It's just true, right? Like the Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet thing. Getting rid of DK Metcalf, but signing Cooper Kupp. That doesn't make sense. So why not have another thing that doesn't make sense? And maybe get a long-term quarterback. Maybe. I'm not the biggest believer in Jackson Dart, but it seems like NFL teams, some are, and I think Seattle could be one of those teams here in the middle of the first round.
Seattle stopped making sense when they passed at the 1 yard line. Anyways, let's keep going.
Is totally yes. Bucks here at 19. Kind of reverse. Bucks usually do a lot of really good things. A really good drafting team. Jason Light is definitely one of the best GMs in the NFL, no doubt. I think I'm going to say the pick is in for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers are selecting Jihad Campbell, your boy, linebacker out of Alabama. I'll give you a second to talk about him. What do you think about Jihad Campbell here with Tampa Bay?
Sure, he played at Alabama. And he's really good. Sorry, I just wanted the humor there for a second. Yeah, Jihad Campbell. Kyle, you and I have done a couple personal mocks before we started putting out our mocks to our audience, to our fans. And I think from the very beginning, when we were doing this back in January, I think we still had Jihad Campbell going to the Bucs.
Yeah.
Why? They need help with pass rush. And, Jihad Campbell kind of got outshined by literally every other pass rusher at Alabama until kind of last season. And even then, unless you were really paying attention, a lot of people didn't know who he was. I think this is a really great example of how good he can be, and he doesn't have to be the focal point of a defense. You can kind of put him everywhere. He plays linebacker, he plays off-ball linebacker, plays edge, can come across, can do things, can be disruptive. And for a Buccaneers team that doesn't really know what's going on with their linebacker and they need pass rush help, this kind of addresses a couple different needs for them at a high level.
Yeah.
And without putting extreme stress on him. I almost want to say, and you're going to hate this, but I'm going to say it anyways, that Jihad Campbell is like Micah Parsons light. Not quite on the same level athletically as Micah Parsons, but I like that he has that flexibility and that drive to just play wherever and force offenses to adjust to wherever he is. But he's just not as imposing as Micah Parsons to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, if you miss out on Abdul Carter, this is a nice, good flexible pick. Not the best edge rusher behind Abdul Carter, but the best flexible guy that you can kind of throw anywhere.
Yeah, I like what you said about flexibility. I think pass rush with Yaya Diaby there, you could argue, Reddick's not going to be there forever. Sorry. Reddick's not going to be there forever. He's only on the 1 year deal. And then if you're like, okay, let's play him on the inside too, well, then there's a hole right there because Levante David, man, if Jihad Campbell can learn from Levante David a little bit,
it would be the best of both
worlds. Yeah. Perfect fit for the Buccaneers. I'd really love that for them. Jihad Campbell to the Bucs. That means the Broncos are up here at pick number 20. Respect my Denver Broncos fans out there. We didn't believe in Bo Nix. Listen, I know it's only 1 year, so I'm not going to say it's set in stone that he's a god or he's elite. But, hey, his first year, he definitely did what I thought he couldn't do. So, congratulations, Broncos. I think he's found yourself a quarterback and a head coach.
Not even Bo Nix. How about just the Broncos in general? I don't think anybody had them pegged to do that well.
Yeah, for sure. Defensively, they came out of nowhere.
My God, yeah.
A couple of years ago, you didn't really think the combo of a Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, Nick Bonito, and those guys are really good, and they're not really talked about a lot as being a really great defense. Those names really aren't being talked about a lot, right? Like, but they have a lot of really good defensive players as well. Offensive line's getting a little bit better. But I think I know where they should go, and I think I know where they're going to go. So I'm going to say the pick is in at number 20. And the Broncos are taking Omarion Hampton, running back out of UNC, a little bowling ball, a guy who cannot be brought down, athletic freak, did a lot at UNC. Sean Payton had Alvin Kamara, right? And I think he wants to surround Bo Nix with every weapon possible. Omarion Hampton is not just a running back; he is a weapon. And seeing as Colson Loveland and Tyler Warren are both gone, maybe you could sell me on a Luther Burden here. That might be a little too early for him. But I think the next step in terms of playmaker, the next guy you could select is Hampton here at pick 20. What do you think of Hampton?
I'm actually pulling the comp I had written somewhere, and once I say it, you're gonna love it. Here we go. Okay, so the comp that I found when I was doing some research on Amari and Hampton, because I'll be honest with you, UNC wasn't like the most exciting team for me to watch last year. So I went back, I watched some tape. Holy crap, this kid is really good. And I can understand why they want him to go in the first round, because when you watch him, and I enjoy that other people are seeing this, and once I saw this, it was like, oh my God, yeah, Joe Mixon. This is Joe Mixon Jr. And it's hard to find that blend of size, speed, and athleticism. And a lot of people, we hear it all the time. Oh my God, why would you draft a running back in the first round? Well, because sometimes you get those running backs that can just absolutely change the game. And I think between him and Gianti, you could take either one and still be happy. And for a Broncos team that seems to have or seems to need one more step to take to the next level, makes sense. Go get a playmaker at running back. You don't really have anything at running back. Makes sense. Go get a splashy pick. Help Bo Nix. Keep the pressure off of him. We've talked about this with young guys. And Omarion Hampton, I really like him. You said bowling ball, and it's true. He's a quick, speedy little dude. I think, what's his name? Oh God, who's number 30? I literally had him on the previous slide. Is it Terrell Davis?
Oh yeah.
It's almost like that's the kind of guy that you're going to take, a guy that can just take over a game, and you need that because Bo Nix is great. And you can take the boy out of Auburn, but you can't take the Auburn out of the boy. So,
oh, gosh. I mean, he was really bad at Auburn. That's not. Yeah. He was really bad. I mean, so bad. All right. It means
the next level college hate. If you can't figure out my college from there, you've missed out a lot. Yeah. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, and funny enough too that he played Penn State and looked like crap. So we both have a little bit.
Both enjoyed it. Yep.
Pick 21. The Cardinals are up from that trade with the Steelers. Cardinals with Jonathan Gannon there, defensive coach. They went out and got Josh Sweat from the Eagles. Obviously, that connection there. They signed 45-year-old Calais Campbell as well. I don't love their team. Just looking at it, I really don't. It's kind of disgusting now that I'm looking at it. I just Marvin Harrison's good, obviously. Kyler Murray, I'm not sold on. James Conner is getting to be ancient. I guess Trey Benson, we like a Trey Benson. Trey McBride's obviously one of the best tight ends in the league, but offensive line, they need a lot of help other than Paris Johnson Jr. and Evan Brown there. Defensive line, I don't think is set in stone. I don't know what Darius Robinson did last year. That was a big pick for them, but I don't think he really proved to be that much. I guess their secondary is decent. But I think it's obvious they need along the line of scrimmage here, just from looking at it. So I'm going to say the pick is in for the Arizona Cardinals. And they're taking Mr. Mike Green, defensive end out of Marshall, a pure pass rusher. Listen, a lot of these guys, all the way from pick 21 down to 32, I'll make this argument now, is that a lot of these guys have some sort of red flag. They have some sort of thing as to reason why they're dropping to this late first round. Mike Green, one of those reasons is, off the field stuff. We don't know the full truth. We don't know everything, obviously. That's not really in our job description nor in our ability to find out that information. But teams can find that out. So I'm assuming they're figuring that out as we speak. But just in terms of the player profile alone, so much production, pure pass rusher, played at a small school, Marshall. But I think he's ready to go right away. And for a team that's in desperate need of pass rush help, what do you think of Mike Green here at 21?
Honestly, I wish we knew the truth about Mike Green, because if you had looked at our mock drafts a while back, we had Mike Green going to the Falcons. I even wanted Mike Green to go to the Panthers just because of his combine testing was just out of this world. But character concerns are a thing, and rumors are not. It hurts people. Look at Jalen Carter as a great example of that. Obviously it wasn't, out of the first round, but still it was far enough that the Eagles got him for nothing, which makes me so mad. Anyways, character concerns are going to come up every year. People are going to use that as a huge metric to say, whoop, they shouldn't go that high, even though their talent is great. So I guess the jury will be out on this. If it turns out that all that stuff is false, this is a slam dunk pick for Arizona this late in the first round. If it is true, you're going to need a good coach to sit in there and kind of navigate. But all in all, yeah, they need pass rush. We've said this for 3 years now, and they've not really done a dang thing about it. So,
yeah, no doubt. Chargers up here at 22. Mr. Jim Harbaugh on the clock. You can make an argument.
Harbaugh.
You can make an argument that the Joe Alt pick. If Joe Alt wasn't there, they would have taken J.C. Latham, the biggest lineman you've ever seen. They lost Poona Ford, I believe, one of their premier D tackles. So Harbaugh is the kind of guy that loves the beef. Where's the beef? It's on his team. Where's the beef? He wants it. He wants it on his team. He wants it on a line of scrimmage. He wants to build it up the right way. So I'm going to say the pick is in for the Los Angeles Chargers. And the Chargers are selecting Kenneth Grant, D tackle out of Michigan. I don't know if I said San Diego Chargers. I probably did. I apologize. I can't get over that. Los Angeles Chargers. You know what San Diego means? Means a Wales Anchorman reference. Okay. Kenneth Grant here, a big, beefy boy, D tackle out of Michigan, light on his feet. What do they call that? Like a polar bear, a dancing polar bear? I don't know. That's one of the terms they throw out. Pass rush, we're not quite sure yet, but I think he has the aptitude to do it. I think he has the skills in his body to do it, but also, he's a massive boy, right? He wanted stuff to run. They don't have those guys on their team. If you look at their defense, I think kind of outperformed the talent-wise. Khalil Mack is ancient. Tuli Pelosi obviously has had some moments, but interior line of scrimmage on the defense is something to be desired. Kenneth Grant, 22 to the Chargers.
Like it.
Packers up here at 23. This was your kind of pick, Brad. I'm gonna let you go ahead with this one. I love it, but I kind of want to hear more of what you say about this pick here for the Packers at 23.
Sure. Let me go ahead and pull up what I need for this, because as soon as I start saying names, everybody's going to go, oh, yeah, that's terrible. I'm not getting what I want here. Give me 1 second.
Here you go. I'll keep talking.
Anyways, the whole point being the Packers are always exceptionally mid, which is okay. They just don't draft what they should. Okay. And I know a lot of people are saying, what are you talking about? Okay, just the past couple drafts, how many of those guys that they've drafted have worked out? Let's talk about Quay Walker. Let's talk about the white dude from Iowa that was an edge rusher who I can't even remember. That's how
Lucas Van Ness.
Yeah, that's how unuseful he was. I could just keep going back. They just keep picking mid picks. I'd even say Jordan Love wasn't even a great pick for them because he sat for how long? They just don't pick what they need right away. And I have my pick, but a lot of people are going to say, well, why? So I'm just going to go ahead and say the pick is in. I'll tell you who it is, and then I'll explain why. So I'm going to go ahead and apologize ahead of time if there are any Packers fans. The Packers are going to select Mika Egbuka, the wide receiver from Ohio State. Makes sense. Dude is incredibly productive. And before we keep going on here, let's just go ahead and get real honest. Here's your depth chart right now for your receiver room. Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Dobbs, Malik Heath, Jaden Reed, Bo Melton. I'm not exactly shaking in my boots at any of these dudes. Now, your running back room, Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson. Great. You got Jordan Love and Malik Willis. And you know what? Malik Willis can throw the ball. That's good. It's good for him. O-line is fine. Defense, sure. I don't love their defense. It does the job. Like, I think their secondary probably could use some help. But outside of that, man, like, look, their wide receiver room is atrocious. I think if anybody follows fantasy, you know this because there's a game where Jaden Reed just goes off and then he just disappears off the face of the planet the next week. And I think the Packers are still suffering from a lack of Devontae Adams. And I know I'm going to catch hate for that. But truthfully, they don't have a pure wide receiver one. And I'm not even saying Egbuka could be that, but at least Egbuka could be consistent. I want some consistency if Jordan Love is supposed to be the next coming of the line of kings of the Packers QB room. You got freaking Aaron Rodgers. You got Brett Favre. And now Jordan Love is supposed to be the next guy. And when he doesn't have a wide receiver one, what do you expect from him? Josh Jacobs can't run for 4,000 yards in a season. I just don't understand the Packers ever and like how they do as well as they do. But the truth be told, you need a clear-cut guy that you can rely on every week. And for Ohio State, that was Mika Egbuka. And I think he could really do it at the next level for the Packers. And it just makes sense for them to have a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally on board with this pick. Just need a real receiver, right? Like you said.
Yeah.
A slot guy too, but probably could play a little bit of outside. And echoing your standpoints about some of these picks just don't make sense. I just think you need to get a good player, the right person, the right player, and get Jordan Love some more help. Okay, let's move on to our next pick here in our awesome mock draft. Oh, we have a trade. The Vikings are trading down with the Buffalo Bills here. Bills are trading up all the way here to 24. So the Bills are on the clock, and I will say for your Buffalo Bills, the pick is in. And your Buffalo Bills are selecting Nick Emenwari, safety out of South Carolina. I think this trade makes a lot of sense for a couple of reasons. They're trading above the Rams and the Ravens. I think both of those teams would love Nick Emenwari, and you're probably pissed because yeah, you are.
I was when we were doing this mock. I'm like, damn it, Kyle. It's a few picks away.
My bad. Just a freaky freak. One of the most athletic freaks. We said earlier, it looks like DK Metcalf at safety, right? 4.38 40, 43 vert, 11.6 broad, 20 bench press, 149, 10-yard split.
11.6 broads. That's amazing.
Yeah. That's a lot of broads. 6'3", 220 as well. Just incredibly productive and athletic. Just do it all kind of safety. I think the Bills need another guy. Secondary's bad, and they need a player at safety. Gone are the days of Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, right? Like, I think you need a dude back there.
And the scary thing is he's almost a freakier version of Kyle Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
And that's horrifying. If you can imagine that, that's kind of what I see him as. So
no doubt.
From Baltimore. Appreciate that.
No problem. Anytime. If Emenwari gets drafted before the Ravens on draft night, like I'm going to be sad.
I'm going to mute myself. Yeah, I'm going to mute myself because it's going to be the do you remember that on draft night that I was so mad that we didn't take Cooper DeJean?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And then he did the pick six in the Super Bowl, and I was like, this could have been us, guys. Could have been us. Whatever.
If Lamar Jackson can win a playoff game, it would have been. All right. Move on. Sorry, that was a stray. I apologize.
No, it was valid.
What's that?
I said, no, it was valid. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. Texans are up here at 25. I'm not going to talk much about this. They got rid of everybody along their offensive line. So the pick is them.
Yep, I like it.
And the Texans are taking Gray Zabel, lineman out of North Dakota State. Carson Wentz's school. Let's go.
And Trey Lance, because he's such a great football player.
Yeah, and Cody Mock, right? All right. Anyway, Gray Zabel. Obviously, this fills a need. The Texans' offensive line right now is Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, Jarrett Patterson, Juice Scruggs. Shout out, we are Penn State, Erie boy. Titus Howard and Trent Brown. Not loving it. Not loving it. It is the opposite of the McDonald's slogan. Ba-da-da-da-da, Houston Texans offensive line. I'm not loving it. TJ Stroud's.
I like it.
TJ Stroud's gonna die.
Yeah, he is.
He's a great pocket passer, but he has to have a pocket to pass. That's scary. That's concerning. So Texans getting a guard or a tackle, versatility. You need versatility, especially with the holes at offensive line. Gray Zabel, Texans at 25. The Rams are up here at 26. The anti-tush pushers, Sean McVay, he says, yes, there might not be any injury data, but it's the optics of the play that I don't like. Well, screw you.
He's just mad because if you pushed Matthew Stafford, he'd break his fibula.
That's true. Yeah, no doubt about that.
Sorry, if there's any Rams fans, I just had to say what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't have any hatred towards the Rams, but
no.
It's starting to seep a little bit as an Eagles fan, if I'm being completely honest. But hey, this is a mock draft, so we're mocking for him. We're not talking about the tush push. I apologize.
Oh, we can mock him. That's still technically part of a mock, right?
True. Matt Stafford sucks. You lost to the Eagles. They
should have traded him to the Giants.
Yeah, really. Rams here at 26. They're a team that it's actually pretty darn good in the draft. They don't always really have.
I really thought you were about to say, now here's a team. Sorry.
Now here's a guy. They're really good in the draft, even though they're not used to having a first round pick because they trade away, trading away. I don't know, Girl Scout cookies to Girl Scouts. Is that a thing? I don't know. Just mute me off. I was trying to think of a metaphor. I can't think of anything. Anyway, yeah, it's a horrible one. They need corners. They need secondary. I love what they did with Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, getting guys later in the draft that really work out.
I would have preferred Wilson Fisk, but Braden Fisk is just fine.
But that's all. I still need to watch that next episode.
Same.
Yeah, I haven't watched that. I'm on Severance right now, so I'm kind of in the middle of some other shows.
We need to do like the Oscar thing. Like if we talk for too long, I just
kick me off the stage. Will Johnson here to the Rams. Man, he fell to 26 in our mock, and you might say, "Oh, he's going to go earlier." You don't know what you're talking about. Maybe, but listen, he had a horrible last year and he was injured. It looked like he belonged in the 5th round. That kind of bad after his injury. He could definitely slide all the way down here to the 20s. Barron and Emanwari, even Malachi Starks, all secondary pieces that I think teams might love more ahead of Will Johnson. So I could definitely see this happening because of his just really not good junior year.
Yeah, I agree. I think the talent is there, but people are going to be worried about the injury. That all checks.
Yeah.
So we have the Baltimore Ravens. Sorry, no, I'm like,
oh wow, that was good.
Thanks. Not my best work, but it's there. Guys, listen, Baltimore Ravens. Let's make this easy. There's some holes on both sides, but I think we really just need to take kind of the best player available. We were honestly just a drop pass away from continuing on. And as much as I want to blame Lamar for that whole meltdown, yes, his first half was really rough, but the second half he put it together, and he can do it. I don't know if it's nerves. I don't know if he's just like how play football when he gets there. I have no idea. But here's kind of my opinion on where we are. I'll just say the pick is in because I could do a whole podcast just on the Ravens. So the Baltimore Ravens will select Malachi Starks. Now, look, this is not going to make any sense at all. I understand that. I hated it when I did this as well. But truth be told, look, we have a hole at safety. We need somebody to pair with Kyle Hamilton. Our secondary is a little bit sus. Lots of injuries coming through. Lots of young guys being forced to start, and they're not producing. I think Malachi Starks is a really good nickel corner / safety. He can kind of play both. And I think it just gives us some flexibility on the back end, kind of like what Kyle Hamilton does. Like, yes, he plays safety, but he can also come up and play kind of in the box for a linebacker. It's just more flexibility for us because we don't have the star power to be like the Patriots of old or the Kansas City Chiefs of old. Lamar Jackson just doesn't have that game takeover ability like Brady does, or like Mahomes did, or Peyton Manning for that matter, which is not a rag on him at all. He is an amazing athlete and a great player, and I love him. But we have to do everything we can when he's not on the field because he really does do it all for our whole offense. I wouldn't mind a receiver here as well. I wasn't thrilled with the DeAndre Hopkins signing. But that's Baltimore is just where the old receivers come to die, so it's fine. It makes sense, but maybe not in the first round. There's some good wide receivers that aren't going to go in the first round that you can pick later. Makes sense to just shore up our secondary a little bit, and Malachi Starks just makes sense here. It sounds like a Ravens pick, if not an edge rusher. This feels the right pick for them.
Yeah, that's a stark contrast you just made.
Oof, that was good. That was good.
Right. Lions at 28 on the clock here. Biting kneecaps and such. They lost a lot of coaches. That's concerning. Jared Goff is still there. To me, that's concerning.
That's concerning. Yep.
Yeah, to me it is. Maybe not everybody, but to me it is. Re-signed Derek Barnes. They got DJ Reed as a corner. We like that. But listen, their defense died last year. So I think it just makes sense to add to the depth. Let's say the Lions pick is in for the Lions at 28. And the Lions are taking Mr. Mykel Williams, defensive end out of Georgia, a guy who really has not shown much pass rush juice, but is a prototypical size, 6'5", 260, long arms, big hands, strong hands, powerful hands, good run stuffer, 8.5 tackles for loss. The upside is there, right? The traits are there. He needs to fill out his frame more. He needs to pass rush, refine more. But the Lions need athletic defensive linemen. Aiden Hutchinson coming back from an injury, you just need to put dudes out there, right? And I think Mykel Williams, getting him at pick 28, you could argue that could be a steal if he can develop into that pass rushing mold. So I think this makes a lot of sense for the Lions. A guy that can play right away and stuff the run, then has the upside to be a pass rusher.
Absolutely. So we have the Commanders at 29. Speaking of shocking teams last year, you and I publicly liked Jaden Daniels, but I don't think we expected Jaden Daniels to do that per se. Very, very impressive. I think scarily enough, they're just a few pieces away from competing with the Eagles.
Did you say scarily because of Scary Terry, or is that incidental?
Both and. So I'm just going to go ahead and say the pick is in. This one kind of makes sense. They don't have too many holes.
And the Commanders are selecting Donovan Ezeraku, bless you, out of Boston College. 16 and a half sacks. That's insane production. Philly guy. I was kind of hoping he'd sneak to 32, but he didn't. That's okay. Insane production. 6'2", 248, I believe. It's not the biggest guy in the world, but this is Dan Quinn we're talking about. He doesn't really care what the body type is. He just, man, he wants to come at you. He wants to send Frankie Louvu over the line of scrimmage. Pause. He wants to send Frankie Louvu over the line of scrimmage when you're doing a tush push 500 times and just to hit your quarterback in the head. You know, that's the kind of guy that he wants. He wants to rush in the backfield and hit you hard. Ezeraku, oh no, Brad left. Ezeraku compared with Frankie Louvu as well. You know, he wants those pass rushers. Micah Parsons, you would argue, was at his best when he had Dan Quinn. So let's get more pass rushers that can make a lot of sense.
Sorry, the first comment was made, and then what you said after that, just never mind. We're going to go to our next pick. It is a Minnesota Vikings. Let's be honest. Yikes. They could have really gone had Darnold not completely fallen off towards the end.
I
think that's horribly unfortunate for them.
Yeah, that's just Minnesota's story, you know?
Yeah.
Quarterbacks crapping out or a kicker missing a field goal. It's unfortunate, but
Especially when you look at the 5 guys on this front page, like they should have a Super Bowl by now.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, truly. It is unfortunate. But the Vikings don't have a lot of picks from their J.J. McCarthy / Dallas Turner trade of last year. Both trades, they traded up. So I think it makes sense for them to trade back. So they're going to stick and pick at number 30. So I'm going to say the pick is in for your Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
And the Minnesota Vikings are selecting Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama. Your boy.
It's actually 2 picks in one. You get Tyler Booker and his afro. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, this dude in a phone booth is really cool. And I don't mean like actually in a phone booth, nor do I mean he's in a phone booth like Colin Farrell in the movie Phone Booth. I'm saying in a very tight space, he's really good. Like he'll kill you. He'll smack you good. But don't get him running around that often. It's not great. However, the Vikings, they signed Will Fries at guard. They have Brian O'Neill at right tackle. Christian Darrisaw at left tackle. That left guard is open. I think if you get Tyler Booker, that's the last piece of your offense. Jason McCarthy has everything that he needs. He has 2 running backs, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason. He has Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Rondale Moore, Jalen Naylor, TJ Hawkinson, Josh Oliver, CJ Ham. And then with that offensive line that I just mentioned, I mean, that's a pretty freaking good start. He's one of those guys that can play right away. Day one, he's in there. He's knocking dudes' heads off.
Poor dudes.
That means we're here at pick 31. We're getting near the end. Oh, but there's some excitement. There's a trade. Chiefs are trading out of this pick to the New England Patriots. What will the Patriots do? What do you think? Anybody know? Obviously,
they'll probably pick a player.
They probably will. I wouldn't mind if they didn't pick a player. That means the Eagles would be on the clock right now. I'm going to say the pick is in for your New England Patriots.
Yep.
And your Patriots are trading up and selecting Josh Simmons, tackle out of Ohio State. Man, that guy has a massive, beautiful smile. Listen, they got that guard, Will Campbell, with their 4th pick, and I think it could be a Pro Bowl guard. Man, they really need to just fix their offensive line, like desperately fix their offensive line. Get Drake May upright. Fix him.
Strange.
What? Doctor Strange? What did he say?
Hurry, Drake. Run through the portal. Sorry.
Yeah. Offensive line, massive need. We said that. If you could somehow come away with Will Campbell and then Josh Simmons, who, if he didn't get hurt, probably could have been a top 15 pick, like you just rebuilt your offensive line in one round, in one day, in one night, in 3 hours. You know?
That's true. That is true.
All right. Eagles, last pick up at 32. My boys.
Hey, give me 1 second. It kind of
My team. I'll keep talking about my lovely Eagles.
you
Your
go.
Super Bowl
Gotcha.
champions who obliterated the Kansas City Chiefs. No shot. Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey were crying. Obviously, the Eagles fan, I love it. Pick 32. Interesting pick. They could trade back here. That would make a lot of sense.
They could. It is the pick right after pick 31.
Yeah, it's true. That is a number.
It's a stat, technically.
Not a prime number. 32 is not. You can divide it by 4, 8,
Okay,
2,
man.
and 16. So 32 pick is in for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Let's do it.
And the Philadelphia Eagles are selecting Walter Nolan, D tackle out of Ole Miss. If there is a guy like Jayon Carter in this draft, it is Mr. Walter Nolan. A lot of people are saying, oh, he has off the field issues. I have not seen what those are nor heard. I have replied to many people on X about what is his off the field issues, and no one can tell me a thing. So I'm just confused. However, on the field, dynamite pass rusher. I think he's better than pick at 32, but I'm kind of putting him here just because from what we've seen from different analysts, different mocks, that like he could fall a little bit, but I don't think he's making it past the Eagles. I mean, you get rid of Milton Williams, he's a Milton Williams replacement from day one. So I think this makes a lot of sense at 32, and that is the end of our mock 2.0. I think this was a whale of a good time.
Sure was.
Lots of good picks, lots of interesting things. And I think overall, this draft is going to be very odd. I think we could probably do 100 mocks, and we probably wouldn't get a lot of the things right. This is just a draft that maybe after the first 3 picks, it's probably going to get a little wild. Teams view these players all over the board, all over the map. They view players differently. So do you have anything to add before we go?
I do. I'm looking for our show schedule because we have a couple other guys that are joining us. Oh, Kyle, I'm so excited. Next week, Mock Draft 3.0, which means we'll be doing exactly this next week with trades, putting out all the information that we have together in the best draft format we can give you. Right after that, on the 23rd, we will have our annual live mock draft, which is where we will run it exactly like a real draft. We'll have people come on, guest pick for each team, trade for teams if they want to. Whatever you want to do, if you come on with us, you will be running a team. And then the 24th, we will have something we've not done for a couple of years, but we will do our NFL draft watch party where we will watch it live. You will see us freak out live. You can come and react with us, comment, post. We'd love to hear from you. But once again, thank you all for your support. Thanks for watching with us. Love seeing all these new faces here watching with us. But as usual, we are your spot for NFL and NCAA football content. Check us out next week for our draft, and you guys have a great night. Bye, guys.